We're talking about Heidi Firkus, who is no longer here with us today.
A young life cut short in an alleged robbery gone wrong.
State Patrol 911.
Someone's trying to break into my home.
38 seconds into the call, a noise similar to a gunshot is heard and the call goes dead.
Well, I don't know where she went there.
Her husband, a witness to it all.
I don't remember exactly what happened, but the gun went off. She had blood on her face. I saw a hole in the back of her t-shirt.
He becomes a key figure in the case, but his statements don't quite add up.
So you didn't go downstairs at all?
Into the basement?
Yeah.
No, there's no way I wouldn't be able to walk.
But there's other blood that's down there that, left me scratching my head going, okay, how did that get there?
But he insists there was an intruder.
Okay, so there's no mysterious things going on?
No, there's no scandalous secret.
The heat of the case soon turns cold until a compelling motive breaks the ice.
Our marriage has been tempered by this. Having sex is really painful for Heidi. We just don't do it.
Detectives uncover a sexless marriage fueled by financial ruin.
You guys aren't behind in the bills or anything?
We are behind in the bills.
Just out of curiosity, what's the total for the credit cards then where you're at?
Just about, it's a little over 15,000.
Okay.
We're pretty crippled by it.
But did Heidi know about the debt? Detectives keep coming back to that question and another.
Do you have anything to do with this?
No, absolutely not.
It would be years before an unlikely witness, his second wife, unravels his twisted web of lies.
And the fact that you're lying was so easy for you to do in front of me over and over and over makes me think
that I could murder my wife.
That you could lie about something.
That I could murder my wife.
Yes.
This is Crimes of Passion by Law&Crime. I'm Sierra Gillespie. The night of April 24th, 2010 began just like any other. It was a Saturday, and Nick and Heidi Firkus had one thing on the agenda: relaxing. They shared a split-level home in St. Paul, half of Minnesota's Twin Cities, and that night they were staying in. The couple ordered food, watched Avatar, and went to bed around midnight. But about 6 hours later, everything would change.
State Patrol 911.
Someone's trying to break into my home.
What city are you in? St. Paul?
I'm in St. Paul.
What's the problem?
I've been shot. Somebody broke into the house. I've been shot because they heard a break into the house. I woke up my wife so we could run to the garage. My wife she's dead. I need somebody here now.
Nick Firkus met Heidi Erickson in the early 2000s. They got to know each other through their faith, both attending the same church in the suburbs of Minneapolis.
We're avid backpackers and things like that. Like we took a group of kids from Colorado, or we took a group of kids from our church to Colorado.
Okay. And where do you go to church in?
We go to Calvary Church in Roseville. But we've kind of been shopping around lately because we were staff there for 7 years.
Nick and Heidi bonded quickly. Their relationship soon blossomed. And by 2005, when Heidi was only 20 years old and Nick just 22, they got married. Both natives of the Twin Cities area, they knew they wanted to stay close to family. So in August 2007, when they found a house in the Hamline Midway neighborhood of St. Paul, they jumped at the chance.
How long have you guys been living up on Minnehaha?
2.5 years.
It's not really, it's a pretty decent neighborhood.
We like it. We like it. I don't think it's not a kid-friendly house that we have, so we're planning on being there for a long time.
It's now 2010. Nick is 27 years old and Heidi is 25. And while the couple likes their house and neighborhood and they want to start a family together, now just isn't the time. They're still enjoying life as dinks. Dual income, no kids, taking advantage of weekend getaways and vacations, like their recent trip to Hawaii. But by April 2010, it's back to business. Nick has been keeping his head down at work, a family-owned cleaning company.
Okay, and where do you work at?
I work at a company called Crew 2 Solutions.
Crew 2 Solutions?
It's my family's business.
Your family's business?
Yes, sir.
Okay. runs that?
My dad, uncle, aunt, and their cousin.
What kind of jobs do you guys usually do to clean up?
Well, we're mostly residential. Carpet cleaning
Okay.
is the division that I run. But we have some commercial stuff as well.
Okay. And when you're cleaning up the carpet,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are you just trying to get stains out, or I mean, are you?
It's a full. We clean wall-to-wall carpet, all of it. We're a pretty high-end service.
Heidi works as a customer service rep at Securian Financial, a firm in St. Paul that focuses on insurance, retirement, and investments. By all accounts, Heidi likes her job. She's diligent, hardworking, and friendly to all of her coworkers. So much so that on Saturday, April 24th, 2010, she even meets up with one of them.
So did Joni come over to the house then?
She did. She came over to the house to pick up Heidi.
What time do you think that was?
So it was at 1:30
In the afternoon.
in the afternoon.
Okay. All right. So they left then, or did you leave first?
Yep. No, they took off. Like I got back at 1:30 because I wanted to meet Jolene.
Okay.
Hear what all the fuss was about for my life, and then,
Okay.
And then I stayed at home while they left.
Heidi and Jolene head off to nearby Mall of America for a day of shopping and girl talk. Nick stays back at home, just taking it easy. He plays around with some computer games for a while and even takes a couple-hour nap. Heidi gets home around 6:30 that night. She and Nick order food from Green Mill Restaurant and Bar, a pizza place close to their home. When dinner is delivered, they pop a bottle of red wine and begin their fun night in.
We watched Avatar,
Okay.
which took us till about 10:45, 11 o'clock. Because it's pretty long.
Yeah. Where would you guys watch it at?
Yeah, in our living room downstairs. It just faces the street.
Avatar runs 2 hours and 42 minutes. That means Nick and Heidi spend nearly 3 hours sitting in their living room that faces the street outside. Could someone be watching? After the movie ends, the pair head upstairs for bed. Heidi falls asleep first, and Nick stays up until about midnight or 12:15, watching the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Before you went to bed, did you lock up the house or anything? Or?
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty religious on throwing bolts and locking up the house because that's kind of how Heidi was raised. But
Okay.
if I'm honest, I don't know if I remember to throw the bolt after the delivery guy came. I think I just shut the door and dove in.
The house has an alarm system. It was there when Nick and Heidi moved in, but they haven't activated it in years. But so far, they've been safe in the house. So Nick goes to bed without another thought. He wakes up hours later, just out of routine.
Well, because I get up for work about 6 every morning,
Yeah.
I kind of got up, but we didn't need to be up until about 9 to go to church. So I got up and went and got a glass of water from the bathroom.
Okay, so you woke up about what time?
About 6 a.m.
Nick takes a sip from the faucet and heads back to the bedroom, trying to sleep in just a little longer.
Yep, go back to sleep, but just kind of fitfully sleep for 10 or 15 minutes, and then I heard the screen door open. Which
screen door?
I don't know. Sometimes the one in the back pops open if it's really windy.
Okay.
But usually that sets off the motion light if it does that, and the motion light didn't go off. What I did is kind of let it go for a little while, but then I started feeling with our doorknob.
What doorknob?
I didn't know, but I was assuming because of how well I could hear it was the front doorknob.
Okay. But you weren't 100% sure?
No.
Okay. Alright. And like, what are they doing? Are they just going like this?
Yeah.
Kind of like that?
Yeah, just shaking the knob and
Okay.
shoving the door.
Alright. And is Heidi still sleeping then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a rock.
Yeah.
And so what I did is I grabbed my shotgun out of the closet.
Okay. What kind of shotgun is it?
It's a Baikal side-by-side 20 gauge.
Baikal?
Yeah, B-A-I-K-A-L. It's a Russian.
What gauge is it?
20.
It was in your closet?
Yeah.
Nick keeps his gun in the closet off the master bedroom. When you open the door, it's on the very right-hand side. kept inside of a hard case for occasions such as this.
I don't keep it loaded. I keep it unloaded, but I, like, on top of the cabinet, I keep 2 shells for it just in case things go weird. So on top of the cabinet up here.
Okay, so 2 shells on top of the cabinet?
Yep. So when I heard things this morning, I did load it. But that was the concession that I made with my wife, and I created, no one can fight that battle at all.
Okay.
It's no point.
So after hearing someone jiggling the doorknob, he grabs the gun and then rushes to Heidi.
And then I wake up Heidi.
Okay.
And she's when she gets woken up from his sleep, she gets startled.
Yeah.
In general, and I said, Heidi, somebody's fiddling with our knob and trying to get into our house. Let's get your shoes on and let's go out to the garage. Let's get out of here.
Okay. Why go to the garage though?
Because that's where our car is, and we didn't want to be in the house if somebody was trying to get in the house.
Okay.
And so I said, call 911, and then let's head to the garage.
Okay.
State Patrol 911.
Someone's trying to break into my house.
What city are you in, St. Paul?
I'm in St. Paul.
What address are you at?
1794.
1794 what?
911, what's your emergency?
State with
17?
Somebody's trying to break in our house.
Okay, what phone number are you calling from?
Well, I don't know where she went there.
The line goes dead, but a minute later, another call comes into dispatch, this time from Nick.
State Patrol 911.
Somebody just broke in our house and shot me.
Okay, are you in St. Paul, sir? Okay, hold. Let me get you right in there. Hold on 1 second.
Nick screams into the phone, saying both he and Heidi have been shot by an intruder.
Nick, are you still with me? Yes. Where is the guy that shot you?
Fire medical.
Hi, this is police. We're going to need your assistance on a burglary at 1794 Minnehaha Avenue West in St. Paul. I have a shooting victim. I do not have any other information yet. Nick, listen to me. I've got help coming. I need you to take a deep breath. Is the person that shot you still there?
Okay, sir. The ambulance is on the way, but I want you to stay on the phone and talk to the police, okay? My wife she's dead. I need someone here now. Right, we're getting help out there right now. Go ahead, please.
Well, you said your wife is shot also?
Yeah, she's not moving. She's not breathing. Oh, please.
Okay. Nick, stay with me. I'm going to help you. I need you to stay with me, okay? Nick, take a slow, deep breath. I've got a lot of help coming. You're sure the suspect is gone? Nick? You're sure that... Nick, take a deep breath. Slow, deep breath. Are you sure the suspect is gone? Yes?
You can hear Nick on the phone literally wailing and sobbing as he waits for first responders.
I've got officers coming. Just stay with me, okay?
No.
Stay with me. Nick, my officers are there, okay?
In the chaos, Nick is shot in his upper left leg. Heidi's shot too, but her wounds are more severe. She's been shot in the lower back and is rushed to the hospital when first responders arrive. And it's there at the hospital where Nick speaks to detectives for the first time.
When we got to the bottom of the stairs, the door opened up and Heidi kept going and I turned, got grabbed. I was holding, we were kind of both holding onto the gun. It went off twice. The second time, I think, is when I was hit.
Okay, do you know what happened the first time?
Oh, Heidi was hit, she wasn't moving.
And then after you were shot?
I don't know.
You don't know what happened?
No, I think they ran.
Hours later, at about 10:15 the morning of the shooting, Nick describes the moment the gun went off in this on-camera interview.
So the gun goes off.
Yeah.
It's like this.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes off down
Yeah.
Down the hallway?
Yeah.
Okay.
And no, it hit her.
Did she yell or anything like that?
Yeah, and she went straight down.
Okay. Did she fall face first or?
Yeah. I get it up. And up and over.
So you pointed it at him?
No, it was like straight up and over
Okay.
like that.
So you're like going
barrel down.
Oh, so the barrel's down.
Because
Okay.
I grabbed onto my right and pulled like
Okay.
that, and that's when it went off the second time and hit me in the leg.
All right. So where does it hit you in the leg? Left leg?
It's me in the left leg.
Now where? If you want to point to my leg, you can
Oh,
just.
that's right. My wound is right here.
Okay, so right there.
Yep.
All right, so it's going down.
Mm-hmm.
So the second round goes off.
Mm-hmm.
So you shoot yourself then, or is this?
I don't know if it was me myself or if it was the guy. I honestly don't remember at that time because I think I don't know if it was me or not. Because his hand was right like above the trigger guard.
Yeah.
So he could have pulled it or I could have pulled it. I don't remember.
All right. Did he take anything? Do you know of?
No, he only came 3-4 feet into the house.
Okay.
So I don't think he took anything.
Investigators press Nick for details of the intruder.
What did this guy look like? Is he a white guy, black guy, Asian guy?
I think he was a black guy with a dark hooded sweatshirt that was drawn. If I remember right, it was drawn up pretty tight.
Yeah.
But I did not get a good look because I was looking for Heidi.
Yeah.
And trying to wrestle the gun away so we could bail.
Both his hands are on the barrel.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And that might be here.
Yeah.
But he was really big.
Yeah.
And
How
so,
big are we talking about? Like, I'm 5'10", 5'11" on a good day.
Okay.
220 pounds.
My twin brother's 6'1", 6'2".
So he was that big?
He was probably that big, yeah.
So he's 6'1".
But he had more weight than my brother. I would
So how much do you think he weighed?
Maybe 200 pounds, maybe.
The description of the intruder sounds familiar to detectives. There's been a string of break-ins around the St. Paul area recently, and that suspect sounds a lot like the suspect who broke into the Firkus home. 2 weeks after his interview with police, Nick's attorneys deliver a detailed sketch of the intruder, drawn by a private artist that Nick's team hired. The sketch looks glaringly similar to the Twin Cities break-in suspect. His name is Michael Pye, and he's been charged with 3 counts of first-degree burglary and another count of aggravated robbery. For a moment, Michael Pye seems like a top suspect. The similarities between Nick's sketch and Michael's mugshot are uncanny. Michael is even accused of committing the same crimes in the same neighborhood. But there's one problem. Michael Pye was behind bars the morning of April 25th, 2010, meaning he couldn't have shot Heidi or Nick Firkus. That's just one of the inconsistencies detectives find in Nick's story, and as they dig deeper, they uncover a shocking secret.
You guys have any problems or anything like that?
Just the normal stuff, like stresses about finances and quality time and vacations and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I would say we're still best friends.
Okay.
We're having a great time Saturday night.
All right. You guys aren't behind in the bills or anything like
We
that?
are behind in the bills, which is a little stressful. In fact, we were planning on moving tomorrow.
Moving where?
Well, we hadn't figured that out yet. We were, and this is a hard place for us. We foreclosed on our house.
Okay.
We have to be out by Monday. Tomorrow, one of the reasons I brought the van home was also because it has a trailer. I chose to go back to the office and grab a trailer.
So you have to be out by Monday?
We do out by Monday. This has been kind of a private struggle for us, so we were going to move as much of our stuff into the garage as we possibly could.
Okay.
And then start taking stuff to a storage place and then either crash it. We hadn't ran it by our folks yet, but we were going to kind of talk to everybody about it tomorrow and crash at their place or get a hotel and find a place to live.
Well, that's kind of close notice.
It is, and I think the reason is because we're both kind of dealing with the shame of the whole thing, because we're embarrassed. I think that one of the challenges is that we haven't been able to be honest with our friends about our struggles.
Yeah.
And And it's not to discredit our friends or anything like that. It's just we just don't. Both of us are too stubborn to admit that we're failing.
Okay. Well,
so it was really a hard decision. We have a bunch of boxes, and we had a really good plan to efficiently start hauling things out of our house tomorrow. And we felt like we could get it done in a day and then Monday morning.
So you and her never mentioned this to either set of parents?
None of our parents or none of our friends.
No one knows about this except you and I.
And Heidi.
And Heidi.
That's right.
Okay.
Bombshell. Nick and Heidi Firkus are in major debt. And worse yet, the couple has to be out of their house by Monday, which is just one day after the shooting.
How far behind are you? Months or?
Yeah, months. Several months. Maybe over a year. Well, part of the reason is we were making a decision to leave the neighborhood because we realized that we couldn't raise a family there, and we wanted to go back to renting for several years so we could build up enough money to come in with a significant down payment, because we bought 2 years ago. And
how much did you pay for the house?
$225.
$225. And what was your mortgage payment?
It was we have a first and a second.
Same here. I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, our first is about $1,300 to $1,400 a month. And our second's $300.
Okay.
Something like that.
And what's your gross income?
I make $41,000 a year.
And then what about Heidi?
She makes about 30.
Just out of curiosity, what's the total for the credit cards then, where you're at?
It's a little over 15,000.
Okay. All right. And do you owe any money on the car?
No, both cars are paid off in January.
Okay, so both cars are paid for. Any other bills that are kind of high?
No.
Okay.
Detectives start comparing Nick's story to the crime scene, and one major thing stands out. It doesn't look like the Firkuses were anywhere close to being ready to move out in 24 hours.
When we came to the house, I'm looking around the main floor a little bit there.
Yeah.
And I saw some boxes in the dining room area.
Yeah.
There weren't a lot of boxes there.
There's a whole bunch in the basement.
Whole bunch in the basement?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then we were going to go to Home Depot when I went to pick up the trailer and buy a whole bunch more.
I've moved out of houses before, and I've helped friends move out of houses before too, Nick. It just seems like you're kind of, putting yourself against the clock. I mean, if you knew this train was coming, you kind of get ready for it.
Yeah, I think a part of it is just, for us, a significant part of it is the shame of the whole thing. We're pretty crippled by it. I think a good thing for us is we're organized people, so we've got a lot of stuff in like Rubbermaid containers that we can just start.
Okay.
We felt like it could take us 8 or 10 hours to have most of our stuff out.
The details of this foreclosure aren't sitting right with detectives, so they dig deeper. They learn that their home was foreclosed on in April 2009, and by June 2009, the home was sold at a sheriff's auction. But Nick and Heidi don't leave. Months later, in February 2010, the eviction process begins. But instead of moving out then, Nick and Heidi take a lavish vacation to Hawaii. When they get back to the Midwest, Nick attends an eviction hearing alone and agrees to a move-out date of March 22nd, 2010. But the date comes and goes, and the Firkuses are still in the house. It gets pushed again to April 6th, 2010, and is only extended because Nick pleads for a few more weeks, saying his grandmother is in hospice care and he needs to be with family. That brings the final move-out date to April 26th, 2010, one day after Heidi Firkus is shot and killed in the home. So let's review. There were no moving boxes packed. They took a Hawaiian vacation, and just hours before she was murdered, Heidi went shopping? To detectives, this all seems pretty reckless, considering their house is being foreclosed on. They begin to wonder, was Heidi even aware at all of the financial crisis they were in? Police found an email that Heidi had sent to a friend, dated March 11th, 2010, that seems to confirm that she and Nick were, quote, tied down to the house on Minnehaha, but were otherwise doing well and were happy.
But Heidi's going to the Mall of America to go spring shopping yesterday.
Yeah, she had a very tight, small budget. It was mostly just so she could spend some time with her new friend Jolene at work. So
I'm just thinking to myself, though, Nick, is that hey, honey, at what point do we draw the line in the sand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I would say is I got some tips at work the other day. So she was going with cash in hand.
Yeah.
And it was extra money that we hadn't count that we hadn't put into the budget. And, it wasn't much. It was $30-40. But I said, if you want to go spend time with Jolene, that's fine. But here's I was just trying to keep it relatively tight for a while.
But we literally have the receipts from Heidi's shopping trip, and she clearly wasn't aware or didn't care about the so-called $40 limit. Things just aren't adding up. All that gives detectives pause, and so too does Nick's next revelation.
Probably the only other significant one is just our level of intimacy in our relationship. It's not, we've kind of figured it out, but it's just having sex is really painful for Heidi. So we just don't do it. We just don't do it all, and we do other things.
Okay. Like I said, it's guy to guy here.
Mm-hmm.
Every guy's got needs and urges, concerns, however you want to put it. Are you stepping out at all by chance?
To other women?
Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
All right. Well, I'm not here to judge you, okay, Nick?
Absolutely. I know.
If you're doing what you're doing, it's your business, okay? But I'm just trying to, like I said, make sure I understand a complete picture of everything that's going on here.
For sure.
In your life and everybody else's life here that's involved in this thing. That's the thing that, pops in my head is if you guys aren't, having sex, that sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, but sometimes guys go elsewhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we just kind of figure out how to keep some intimacy going.
Okay. We don't need complete details.
Well, no, I know what you're saying. But never.
Okay.
Never even considered it.
Are you afraid or thinking any concerns that she was stepping out on you?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. We had a lot of trust in that part of our relationship for sure.
Okay, so there's no mysterious things going on?
No.
Random emails, text messages, nothing like that?
Nothing.
Setting aside that whole intruder story for a minute, detectives now see two major motives for Nick to have murdered Heidi: financial turmoil and a lack of intimacy. And even when they go back to that intruder theory, they find a series of inconsistencies that can't be ignored.
So you didn't go downstairs at all?
Into the basement?
Yeah.
No, there's no way I wouldn't be able to walk.
Okay. All right.
I stayed right by Heidi though, and I didn't want to leave her.
When the ambulance came, they took you?
They took me.
All right.
And I kept asking what I still don't know. I mean, I'm assuming the worst with Heidi, but I still don't. Nobody gave me any answers on what was going on with her. But I mean, yeah.
But you didn't go downstairs at all?
No.
Because there's a lot of blood downstairs.
There's a lot of blood downstairs?
Yeah.
Well,
I'm trying to figure out how that got down there.
The only thing that I could think of is if it went through that particular area of our kitchen. The flooring is really in terrible shape, so that's the only thing I could think of is if it ran into the basement. That's the only thing I can think of.
Okay. Well, the thing is, Nick, is that there's guys who are helping in this case who do certain jobs. My job is here to talk to you, and my other coworkers got other tasks, okay?
Yeah.
And one of my other coworkers right now is looking at that blood, and he's got a lot of questions as to how that blood got down there in the basement. Now, some of it might be explained, like you say, coming through the floor, down there in the basement. that it leaked through, for lack of a better word. All right. But there's other blood that's down there that, left me scratching my head going, okay, how did that get there? And he's going to be looking at that, trying to figure out, okay, what's a reasonable explanation as to how that would get there.
And there's more. Nick's initial story was that he could hear the doorknob jiggling from upstairs in his bedroom. But on the scene, when police test this theory, it's immediately debunked.
6:16 in the morning, April 27th, 2010. All right, I'm at the front door, so let me know when you guys are ready. I'll try the knob for 15 seconds then. Okay, here we go.
We're in the bedroom looking at the hallway.
What time is it?
It's 6:16 a.m.
6:16 a.m. We are ready.
It's not until detectives reach the second floor hallway that they can hear the doorknob jiggling.
And then top of the stairs. All right, you ready? Okay.
All of these things add up to something big. Detectives believe the 911 call made by Nick was staged. So too was the crime scene. It was just too clean to be a home invasion murder. But remember, Nick, the prime suspect, happened to work for a professional cleaning company. And on top of all of this, investigators believe Heidi had no idea her bank accounts were dwindling. Armed with all this information, detectives feel they have a strong case against Nick Firkus, but it will take years before any justice is served. During that time, Nick Firkus goes on with his life. In 2012, he remarries to Rachel Sanchez, later Rachel Firkus, and together they have 3 children. And it's Rachel, Nick's second wife, that really flips the script. She reveals to detectives an eerie pattern in Nick's romantic relationships. Rachel says she too met Nick at church and was swept off her feet by a God-loving family man. And when their finances begin to dwindle, Rachel says Nick hid it from her. She learned of unpaid property taxes, strikingly similar to the hidden bills Nick kept from Heidi. In 2019, the FBI determines there were only 2 people in the Firkus home the morning of Heidi's murder, Nick and Heidi. Based on the angle of Heidi's deadly gunshot wound, it didn't come from an intruder, and that meant Nick's gunshot wound was self-inflicted. It was then that Nick's second wife, Rachel, confronted her husband, and his reaction made her fear for her life.
Your actions have caused me to just distrust you completely. And the fact that you're lying was so easy for you to do in front of me over and over and over makes me think
that I could murder my wife.
That you could lie about something.
That I could murder my wife.
Yes.
It was Rachel who turned this recording over to investigators in 2020, leading to Nick Firkus's arrest the following year. On May 19, 2021, Nick Firkus is arrested and charged with 1 count of first-degree premeditated murder and 1 count of second-degree intentional murder in the death of his first wife, Heidi Firkus. In February 2023, Nick Firkus is convicted on both counts, and in April 2023, 13 years after Heidi's murder, Nick Firkus is sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Nick's team appealed the conviction to the Supreme Court, citing circumstantial evidence. But in February 2026, the Minnesota Supreme Court upheld Nick's conviction, meaning his permanent residence is now behind bars. To the world, they were the perfect couple. But behind closed doors, a husband harbored life-changing secrets that, when about to surface, drove him to murder his wife. A murder that would only be solved when the killer's second wife began to fear history was about to repeat itself. This has been Crimes of Passion by Law&Crime. I'm Sierra Gillespie.